Okay, so good morning, everybody. My name is this is Hugo Valverde. I'm connecting from United States. Now we're going to be doing the job talks for this week. And today we are going to be talking to Elizabeth Cornelius. Elizabeth, how are you today? Nice
I'm
seeing
doing
you.
good. How are you?
I'm pretty fine. Thank you. A little bit hot in here, you know. Miami is a very hot place. It's like a really sunny right now. Well, you're in Florida as well,
hmm
so everything's fine. How are you? All
I'm
good?
good. How are you? How are you liking Miami?
Oh, I like it so far. I really like the pool, the weather, the
Palm
people, everything.
trees.
I love the place. I don't have any complaints except that the little bugs that are eating my skin. The little itch of of the bugs. But everything is working fine so far. So I'm really happy to be here. So and thank you for sharing with us this time. So.
Of
Um,
course.
so today we're going to be talking about employment. That's the target for today's live. Basically, we are going to be talking about the situation in the U.S. for professionals looking for a new job. We are going to be also talking about what are the odds are for someone who's looking for a next step on their career, or for someone who's looking for a new job as well. So, but first of all, can you please introduce yourself, Liz? So tell us about yourself, who you are, about your experience, what are you doing right now?
Yeah. I'm Elizabeth. I'm in Florida, and I am currently working at PSC Biotech. I am the recruiting manager. Um, for let's see, I started managing in December of last year, so this is my first management position. Really exciting thing. So we are in the life science industry, so like medical device, pharmaceuticals, biotech. And yeah, so I got into this industry. I was up in Gainesville for college. I graduated from Santa Fe with a degree in business. And then I got my first job at Aranta Bio. It's actually a contract manufacturer, so it's in the same industry. It was a startup, and I think that was really great for my career because for startups, you have the opportunity to wear multiple hats and really just go into any direction that you want to. So I learned a lot of stuff like office management, HR, marketing, even more on like the technical side. Of the business, and I just really I liked HR, and I got into talent acquisition, and it's really molded me to what I'm doing today. So
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great. So thank you, Liz. So for a professional that doesn't know me yet, my name is Hugo Alvarez. I'm the director of Potential Laboral Partners US. We are a more than 10 years company doing employment coaching and job hunting on Chile and Latin America. And since last year, we came to the US to set up the new branch here to help professionals that are looking for a new job here on Florida, basically. But we also have some coverage on the all over the US. So our network, as far as I know, and as you can tell, Liz, it's been growing a lot since we got here to United States. It's have been growing a lot. We have mentors from Florida, Miami, but not only Florida. We have mentors on Chicago, New York, and Wisconsin. I've been doing some other lives before, and it's been a really good experience for us to have the opportunity to share knowledge with professionals from different states on the UA. So it's really good for us this experience. So I really thank you for that too. You
you
know.
touched on a really good point. It's networking. Having a network is key in anything. So
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah. So let's jump into the topics. So we are going to be talking about the employment situation on the US. So in general terms, what do you think about the employment situation right now? What's going on here about the companies that are looking for new professionals?
yeah, so honestly, within the past couple of years, I mean, since COVID, right? Like it's COVID has completely changed the whole entire world, really, in
Yeah.
any aspect. And when that pandemic first started, a lot of a lot of employees were transitioning to a remote work culture, right? And I think we're now starting to see that in companies even too. They're realizing that they don't need a huge office, right? they don't need to pay for, all of this office space. Like, employees can do their jobs at home. So I don't think that that's going to go away. I mean, I'm working remote. And then more recently, with inflation and just, the market as a whole, um, there's prices are higher, right? So we as employees need to make more in order to stay afloat. So um, companies are paying more, because we need to make a living. So
That's right.
it's just really a very interesting time, with remote culture, and then with everything that's going on, inflation wise. So and then you have the great resignation too. I think within the past couple of years, we've had a lot of entrepreneurs, come into the space. A lot of people, during the pandemic, they had a lot of downtime and had to think of, creative ways to either to work or to follow. They had time to really dig into their passion, and it just, sprouted.
Okay, I got it. So you just jumped into two important main topics over there. So one of them is that inflation has made for the company to mirror to the needs to produce more. So if they needs to produce more, it's going to be more challenging for professionals that are working in the companies at first. So, but in the other hand, when you were talking about pandemic and the remote work, that I'm fully agree with you. So the remote work came to stay. I mean, it's not going to go away. So that's the way things are going to be working right now, maybe forever. And that it's jumping into other challenges for professionals like leadership, like company coordination, working with other areas. It's been a topic not only for US, even for Latin America, and I mean even for the whole world. So, but I haven't talked in other lives, and you jump into a very interesting point, as I mentioned before, that as the inflation raised up, I mean, it went up, it gets more challenging for companies because they need to produce more. And finally, they get to us, who are the workers of the companies. Okay, that's great. So, is there like I've been talking to other professionals on the US, and they have told me that companies are jumping into three main issues. The first of all is inflation. Inflation is a very complicated issue right now that needs to be attended. And the second one is the continuity of the operation for the companies during COVID and pandemic and stuff. And the third one, and the most important, is the staffing. The staffing. Right now, it happens to be the weekend. I was in a general store. I was buying some stuff. I'm not going to mention the company, but it was in a company buying, and I hear a speaker like it was saying, "Hey, do you want to work with us? Please, you can apply with a QR code in the front desk, or you can go and just talk to any of our associates to ask about new job because we are hired." So the situation of the US is very complicated about the professionals and the staffing for the companies. So do you agree with what I mentioned about that? Is that
Yeah,
something?
I do. It's really it's tricky because there's some companies that did a lot of layoffs, because they're not able to keep up in the market with inflation and just everything. And then there's other companies who are wanting to grow during this time period. So it's it's on both sides, honestly. I see a lot of it's really sad, but every time I get on LinkedIn, I always see somebody sharing somebody else's post, or somebody that I'm connected with has been laid off. And I think to myself, I'm like, that's like, why, So, and then there's other companies who are hiring, like mass hiring. So it's a really interesting situation.
Yeah. So even to what I mentioned before, that there are a lot of job offers from the companies on Florida, especially. That doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to find a new job. I just need to be clear on that. Even that there are a lot of companies looking for professional is not easy. So there are actually people who's looking for a job during month, and they can't get a new job because that's why we exist, you know. So there's a strong need on direction, employment training, interview training. So there are a lot of needs for the professionals that are looking for a new job, and it's not going to be that easy as some professionals think that they are. I mean, I'm just looking for a job, and due to see the situation of the United States, I ain't gonna be thinking that it's gonna be easy. I think that's wrong. And I think that's not the path that I should be going to. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the job search process. Uh, what do you think about the professionals that are looking for a new job in general? What about the condition that you think that they are when they are applying to a job offer that you have, when they're doing interviews with you or with your team? In general terms, what do you think about that?
So I wrote down a couple of notes, and just some things that came to my mind just when you are looking for when you are searching. You really have to think about, in a way, you're marketing yourself. So think of it as like a business or a product that like anything. You're truly marketing yourself, and you have to know the right types of avenues to go down in. Back in the day, you used to be able to take your resume and go to the job, the company locally, and ask to apply, ask to manually fill out an application. But today, in today's world, we're very electronic based, if you will. So I think that, just getting into networks of people and LinkedIn, and I have a lot of it's actually very funny. So this is one of my tips, and we'll talk about this later. But I have a lot of very eager people that are contacting me, and I can tell that they're very eager because they're doing different strategies and trying to get my attention, and I appreciate it. I get sometimes people will send me their resume, and I think to myself, like, how did you get my email? But it got my attention. It got me to open up the message, and it's just it's amazing. And I get messages on LinkedIn, and like, that's my job, and it's not. I don't. I do it because I want to help people, right? Like, it makes me feel. It makes my heart feel very, very warm because I can help somebody in their career. I can, either help them get a job or give them advice onto how to advance into the next level. But I think now, with the job search, you kind of have to have your own strategy. Um, I was doing some research, and I think the average time that somebody is looking for a job, from the time that they start till the time that they get a job offer, I think it's about, I want to say it was either 40 or 45 days. So, and that brings me back to my first point of how, back in the day, we were able to take our resume and go in and apply. Don't let that 40-45 day time period discourage you. It's just a different way of doing things.
Okay, so first of all, it's important to consider that when you're looking for a new job, this is a process where you're marketing yourself. That's the first thing that you mentioned. So I think that's very important for everybody to know, because it's not just about sending your resume to everywhere, to any email that you may get. Doesn't matter the way that you get it. I can tell, as you mentioned before, that's very impressive to get a resume, and you ask yourself, "Oh, how did he get my email?" So I get a question for you over there, Liz. Do you really consider the email that you're receiving it that way? So if you're looking at a position that should be fitting, that should be adjust to the professional that is sending the email to you, do you consider the email to
Oh,
any
of
of the
course.
positions? Okay, so it's gonna be working for it's gonna work, maybe work for some professionals on the email like that. Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanna
yeah,
make that.
it definitely gets my attention for sure.
Okay. And what will happen if you get, maybe we are talking about maybe one, two, three emails per day, but what happens if you start receiving like 20, 30 emails of personal? I mean, the number, the amount is very important here. So what do you think about that, honestly?
I would still appreciate it. Because those individuals are taking time to find my email, and that's not very easy at all. So I still it 20, 30, 40 emails per day. With that, it would be a little like whoa, but I still would take time out of my day and go through and set up at least an introductory call with them, or exploratory call. Even though if they're sending me an email and their resume, and let's say I take a look at it and we don't necessarily have something open for them at this time, I still want to establish that connection and start that relationship with them. Because you know let's say a position that they're qualified for will come open next week, right? Or somebody who I know personally in my network, if they're looking for something, I can connect those two people. So I would I would be a little bit more busier, but still I would still appreciate it.
So it's a good thing that might help to professionals that are looking for any job to contact you through LinkedIn or email and to send the profile to you, right? So it's not bad. I mean,
No, no, not at all. And also with LinkedIn too, I think everybody should be on LinkedIn with whatever you're trying to do, and just really making sure that the profile is very professional, but also very personal too. It's not a platform that you have to be very what's the word? You don't have to be too professional. Does that make sense? You still want to have like let your personality show in the profile is basically what I'm saying. But as recruiters, we have a different platform, or a different side of LinkedIn that we see. So it's very important to have your profile, always up to date, always add skills, always add a profile picture, a biography, a description of maybe some. You don't have to put your, let's say you worked at a company. You don't have to put every single thing that you did, but just some of the key accomplishments that you did while you were working with that company, as a description under the profile. But yes,
okay.
LinkedIn is very important, and I feel that it, and I talk to people in my personal life too, and they don't have a LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh my, like you need to get on LinkedIn. Is some people use it, some people don't, and I'm just trying to. It's just a very important platform to have.
Yeah, but for professional positions, LinkedIn is very used. Especially here on US, I think that most of the people find a new job through LinkedIn. So I think that should be. I mean, for me, it's a must. If you're looking for a new job, you should have LinkedIn. And you should know how to use it. You must know how to use it properly. I mean, not going to be spamming to hiring managers or recruiters or your possible bosses. No, yeah, you should be know how to use properly LinkedIn. So, do you think, in an overall question, do you think, Liz, that the professionals right now are fully prepared for looking for a new job? Do you think they really are?
What do you mean?
Do you think they are fully prepared about the resume, the interview, how they should be contacting you, or when you do some interview to professionals, do you think they are always open to improvements? I mean that professional level for looking for a new job, are they fully prepared for that? I mean, do you think it's a because there are people that doesn't know how to look for a new job. They think that looking for a new job is just about send your resume everywhere doesn't, it's like a very cookie cutter thing, you know. Uh, do you think that
There's,
the professionals now are prepared for looking for a new job?
you know, some yes, some no. And that's where, organizations and individuals like us come in to help guide and mentor them to be fully prepared. Sometimes I see great resumes. Sometimes I don't see great resumes. I think to myself, what can they add to make this resume better? But at the end of the day, I think they're very open minded. And that's key with anything in life, is just to be open minded and very coachable, if you will. Because you can take that advice and turn it and help you get to where you want to go.
Okay, so resume mostly needs some improvements. So, do you have in mind the most common improvements that should be done in any resume, or the most common improvements on resume for professionals that are looking at a new job?
So grammar is a really big one. It honestly, everybody has their likes and dislikes with the resume, but the main fundamentals that need to go into a resume is you need to have a header, your name, your email, your phone number, just everything, even your LinkedIn profile link, a little description about yourself. I think listing soft skills are good, but limit the amount of soft skills that are on the resume. You want to dig into more of key, like your key skills, like software skills, if you're familiar with a certain platform, or if you're a recruiter and you're good at negotiation, like that's a skill. And really just throughout the whole resume, because to be honest with you, and this is not for all hiring managers or recruiters, but this is just the statistics. But those individuals who are looking at resumes on average only look at a resume for about 7 seconds. So you really need to make sure that it's professional, it's very well written, and it has they you open up a resume. I think the first thing that they look at is who you are, where you're located, and then they go into what your skill sets are. If what platforms you're familiar with, like what are some of the key words that are jumping out at us, and then we dig into where you're currently working, how long you have worked there. So of course, always having your start date at that company. It doesn't have to be the exact date, but at least the month and the year, and then the end date. Also, one thing that I don't really commonly see on resumes, but I do like it a lot, is when you're listing employment under the company's name, listing who that company is or what they do. I think that's very important, and it's very unique. Because I will look at a resume and look at a company, and if I'm not familiar with it myself, I will go and search. So just having that flow in your resume, I think is very important.
Yeah, you know that that suggestion is very common here in especially in Miami when you're looking for new jobs, and most of the CV of the resume that we get here aren't fully prepared about it doesn't have, I mean, the resume doesn't have the experience related on the target position that they are looking for. I mean, if I am applying for a position, for a specific position, I should have experience validated on my resume for the position that I'm applying. So, and that should be also for the achievements. I mean, for the goals that I have on my resume as well. So, when you start digging into a resume, you really realize that there are a lot of things that should be on that they aren't being used for professionals in this process of looking for a new job. So, I fully agree with what you mentioned before about the 7 seconds that you're looking for a resume when you're reviewing the first filter of any reviewing process of appliance. And in that 7 seconds, I should say, I don't know if you agree, But the first of all that any recruiter should be validating is, do they have the same experience in the type of position that they are applying for? How much time have been working in the previous company? What about the stability? How much time did he work, or he or she work, in any of the companies before coming here to apply to this position? So for me, resume is like something like, it's very simple, but it is tremendously effective. I mean, it's a two-page document, but either, I mean, considering that it's very short, it shouldn't be lost, like the importance that it has for any professional looking for any job. So having a very clear structure is important. And I think that there are very points of common that what I mentioned before, what you think about the resume, but I think it's a very, very important term. So what do you think about the interview, Elizabeth? Um, in general terms, about the interview of the professionals, are they prepared when they come to interview to you? And what about the most common improvements they should be making?
Yeah, so we start out doing just, like a regular phone screen. I really like to make the call very, very comfortable, because I understand that, some people might be nervous during the call. But, um just being well spoken, if it is a virtual call, being professionally dressed, having, a professional background, whether it's, I mean, something like this, or a blank wall, or, we're in the technology era, so, using a virtual background, and just making sure that there's no distracting noise that is going to distract you or distract the interviewer. And what else?
You're gonna be
Always
as well, right?
do it.
And what about preparation? What about the interview preparation before the interview with you? What about checking about the company, the position? What about that?
Yes, yep. I was just about to touch on that. Always, always, always do your research before you do an interview, and more importantly, always, even when you are job searching, keep a list of every job that you have applied to. And when you so I I one time, I had a candidate apply to one of my jobs, and I reached out, and I wanted to do an interview with them, and they did not know, they forgot about their application because they were just applying to so many jobs, and that kind of, I didn't really like that. It didn't seem very well prepared, or professional at all. But I did appreciate the honesty. I will say that. But just when you are going in for an interview, whether it's a phone call or a virtual, always do your research. Always have questions. Whether it's during the interview or at the end of the interview, because that shows us that you're really passionate about this company, that you don't want it just because you just need a job, or maybe they posted the salary and the only reason you're interested in it is because of the pay, like, which those are very important things, of course, but I'll just always do your research and ask about the company culture, ask about the team that you might be possibly working with, and yeah.
It really makes a difference to have a candidate, as you mentioned before, that really dig into the company profile, about the job, the job offer, about the functions, the responsibilities as well. I think that really make a difference when you're applying to a job offer, because it gives more like it show interest in the offer. It shows really interest about the company that I'm applying for. And as you mentioned before, it's not like just looking for a new job. I want to get a job. It's like it doesn't apply to go to an interview and say, I just want to get a job. I think it doesn't apply for professional positions. That's more likely for any other kind. I mean, other kind of positions. But a professional should be showing particular interest on the offers that they are applying for. Uh, and even more, I think that it's a very added value thing that you can do when you're applying for a job. It's to be search and identify points of common between the job offer and your experience. About the requirements that the offer has and then the experience that you have. I mean, if I am applying for operations manager and I've been working about that before in other companies, I should be identifying which are the common points between the job offer and my experience, and I should be bringing that up into the interview with you. So
And
should I make sense?
no, you touched on a really good point, and I think that while you are doing the interview, if you do have access to print out the job description or print out the job posting, have your resume sitting right next to you as well, or even taking notes before the interview, just writing down some key touch points that you want to talk about, and common experiences that the company is looking for. You'll feel very, you will feel and come across very prepared, and very knowledgeable. And yeah, just don't wing it. Always do your research, always have notes, and always have questions.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience in that too because I've been interviewing a lot of people right now. So for Latin America, and for here, for Miami, and I went through the same that happens to you. So this is a very important advice for everybody who's looking for a new job. Dig into the company and identify the common points and experience and skills and key points that you have with the offer. So, what do you think about this, Elizabeth? If you're interviewing a candidate and you start like writing down notes all the time, this is supposed to okay, and then keep writing. What do you think about that? Is that suggested? Like like an eye contact needed in the interview?
I definitely think that eye contact is needed in the interview. I think your note taking should be fairly limited. Really just write down the key important things. If you are going to take notes when you first hop on into the call and you do the introduction, just let them know like, hey, I have a notepad right here. I'm going to just jot down some key notes. And on the interviewer side, I can kind of tell when I say certain things, and I can tell that they're like writing it down, and then that makes me think like, okay, so that was important to them, or something I just said resonated with them, or whatever the case is. But if you are going to take notes, I wouldn't keep doing this and doing that, because you do want to keep that eye contact. It's very, very important. But so keep your note taking limited. And if you are going to take some notes, just let the person know. That way, there's no miscommunication, or they don't think that you're looking at your phone, because they can't see everything that's over here. So
Yeah,
always want to be fully transparent and communicative with what you're going to be doing.
great. So before you were talking about the grammar for professionals, like the most common improvements for professionals looking for a new job. So my question is, can you reject some professionals that are applying for a job offer that you may have due to the grammar issues on their resume?
It is possible. If it's just a couple of errors, no. But if the entire resume is very grammatically incorrect, yes, it is possible, because when you're writing your resume, it's not only showcasing your experience and who you are, but it's also showcasing your attention to detail. And we have many platforms out here that, whether you're writing it on Microsoft Word, they have an autocorrect, so it'll help you with your grammar. But it is very important. A couple mistakes are okay. Of course, no mistakes are ideal. But when you're writing a very important document like that you're going to be sending out to companies, you want to make sure that you're reading it over and over and over to make sure that it needs to be perfect. Because like I said, it does show your attention to detail, and also it'll just show that you're really wanting this and you really took time with your resume, and that it's very important.
Great, great. And you also was mentioning before about the soft skills and the technical skills. I mean, the software certification and stuff. But let's talk a little bit about the soft skills. What do you think about if I'm telling you in an interview that I'm a really hard worker, I really love my job, I'm passionate, as a soft skill, like I'm really good leading people. I am the best working in the world. What do you think about that? So they should be like with a cable connected to Earth, right?
So I think if you there's it's tricky. On your resume, I would leave. So when you are talking about your soft skills, whether it's on your resume or whether it's in an interview, always back that up with experience. Like, give an example. If you are going to talk about how you're a great leader, go into why you are a great leader. Provide an example. Like, in it you ran a team of 10, and you mentored them, and whatever your experience is, just always provide a reason as to why, to kind of fact check it, right? Because anybody can say that they're a hard worker and a great leader and they're a team player, but we always want to know, okay, how is this true? Can you tell me about that? So, and also too, with when you're writing your resume and you are listing those skills, I would leave these soft skills to a maximum of three. I would, and your technical skills, list all of your technical skills, and even on your soft skills too. I'll also give those examples. And then when you are listing your duties in past employment, my rule of thumb is always to list it and quantify it, right? So if you are what's an example I can think of? So let's say that you are, I don't know. I can't think of an example right now. I'm having like, just always list it and quantify it. So if you're doing something, always provide how much you are doing something and why you did that something. So like, let's say if I'm over here trying to think of another example, let's say do
So
what?
I think that well, I can help you out. We can work it together. So I think the important thing here is that when you're talking about something, about your skills and about your soft skills, you should be always talk about it, as you mentioned before, with an example. It's got to be real. It should be in the better situation. Should be quantified. That's right. But if you are mentioning that you had experience managing high level pressure projects or situations, you should be talking about one of them, and you have a real experience due to that. If I tell you as a candidate that I had experience working with very complex situation and issue solving skills, I should be telling you then that I had experience managing clients. I mean, you know, I'm just talking to you about I work with clients. No, that's not the best sample that I should be using, because working with clients or with customers is not an experience that is backing up the skill that I'm telling you about solving problems in the company. You know, I should be talking about a situation that's going to be really related to problem solving in the company. So we had an issue in another area. There we're looking for something. We were looking to another target, and then we had to negotiate. There was a very bad communication between the teams. People didn't want to talk to each other. It was very complex. So what we do then, we set a table, we talk between each other, we expose any point of view that everybody has, and then we get into an agreement. So that's the way that I should be talking about problem solving, because I really solved a problem before with that experience. Make sense?
You're spot on. Yes.
Okay, okay. It's the same with leadership. And there's something that most of the professional doesn't use, but I think it's a skill if you talk about being in charge of very important and large projects. So when we are talking about important projects, most of the projects should be related with a direct company impact. I mean, the company is changing the course, is implementing a new service, is jumping into another market. So when professionals had experience with that kind of projects, they should be bringing them up in an interview because it's a very important skill. It's not just being in charge of a project. You were leading a very important project in a company. So that's an very important added value for you in any interview. And that should be always being, as you mentioned before, should be with numbers, should be quantified. So what's the value of the projects? What's the budget that you had to be in charge of? How much people was working on the project? It's not the same working a project with two persons, two people, that work in a project with 200 people, you know? So getting back into the point that we were talking about before, I think it's always going to be important when you talk about your soft skills, you should give an example. It's got to be real first. Most of the time, the best suggestion that we should be doing is that they should be quantified, because if you're talking about breaks, it's not projects. And they also should be like it's like storytelling, it should be like an intro, some challenge, something that you just accomplished before and that you were looking for, some difficulties over there as well. So does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. So, and what do you think about the improvement points? Improvement points. So, when I don't know if you use that, but in most of the interviews, the recruiters ask for what about your skills, and you answer about that. You talk about yourself. That's on you. I mean, that's your moment. Talk about your skills, what you're good at. But what about talking about the things that you need to improve? Yeah. What do you need to improve? What are your weak points? What about that? Do you think that professionals are really prepared for to talk about the weak points? And the most important thing, Elizabeth, do you think that they are honest when we talk about that?
That's a good question. I don't think that majority of people are, just because when they are asked about that, which it's a very important question, um, and they I don't feel like all of them are honest just because they don't want to jeopardize this interview, right? They might feel scared,
Yeah.
but it is very important to always be fully transparent and always be honest, because it shows self accountability, it shows self awareness, and if you are going to give your honest answer on weaknesses or anything that you need to improve, um, always provide an example too. If you are bad at time management, let's say, give an example of a something in the past that happened when you were bad at time management and it resulted in a negative outcome. um, you you can kind of tell when somebody is there's very common weak when we're asking somebody about their weaknesses or any improvements or anything that they want to make. There's a lot of common answers that people use. It's like, oh well, my weakness is I'm a perfectionist. You know, I can understand as to, yeah, as to why that's a weakness, but it's too common and it's too associated with not, you know, being fully honest. So and honestly, when you are going into these interviews and you are doing preparations, I think that there's a lot of positive things that can come out of it, because when you're thinking about these things, it's giving you self awareness, and you're able to take that and explain it, and work on it and give an example as to what happened, but also give an example as to how you're improving it.
How you prove it? Yeah. So I fully agree with what you mentioned before. What That's one of the most difficult questions that any professional should be facing when going into an interview. So uh, most of the common issue in here is that professionals talk about, when they're referring to the weakness that they may have, they are like hiding like a strong point as a weakness. So if you ask me, hey, you will tell me about your weakness. I'm too perfectionist. I really like things to get done well. So that's not a weakness. So, but if you are a very accurate recruiter, you can ask me in second way, like, why is that an issue? What's that a weakness on you? Being too much perfectionist, and you can get like you can get really a bad point over there because you are trying to have a good way out, but you're not getting it. So why being perfectionist is an issue? It's a thing that you need to improve. Why is that a weakness? So then you can be talking about, well, because I really get frustrated about that when things aren't doing good. I am really looking for my team to do things well. So that's not a weakness, really. That's not the weakness. The weakness here is that you don't have tolerance with your team for failure or for issues. So that's the real weakness that you have. Oh, so you really? Yeah, that's what I think from you. I done that before. So I done that before. So I think that when hiring managers or recruiters ask for the weakness, I think that they are really looking for the honesty that you have. How honest are you going to be with the answer? How much capable are you to have a look for yourself about the things that you need to improve? How much capable you are to recognize when you make a mistake, and you're going to be doing that in your job. So that for me is a very complex point. It's a very interesting thing to talk about because uh, most of the recruiters aren't really asking for weakness. They are trying to look how honest is the person and talk about themselves, the things that they need to improve. But anyway, that doesn't mean that you have to be 100% honest. I mean, you have to be honest, but in a certain way. You should be telling that, oh, my weakness is that I'm lazy. I don't like to get up early from the morning. Wow. So you have to be accurate according to the position. So, and you should be talking about yourself either in in skills or weakness or things they need to improve. You should be always talking about that, but related to the position. So it's different
Exactly.
when a professional that is applying for a position like a leadership or management or a direct position, when he or she is talking about the weakness than a professional that's applying for no leadership positions. Make sense?
Exactly. Yep.
So that's my point of view about the weaknesses that you need to be talking about the interview. And I really think, Elizabeth, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really think that professionals aren't well prepared to talk about the weakness in an interview. They most of the professionals doesn't prepare the interview on that point. They can dig into the company, they can review the profile, the position that they are applying for. They can see even the profile of the professional that's going to be interviewing them, but they are not going to be fully prepared about the weakness that they have. even when you're talking about very angry people that you were mentioning before, for them it's getting more difficult on the time when they're looking for a job and they don't have one, to talk about the weaknesses that they have, because there's like a self-esteem there's like a self-esteem battle with the weaknesses. You get it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very hard to open up to somebody who you don't really know, and tell them your weakness or your points that you need to improve on. But I think as long as you have the right motivation, and you're accepting that this is my weakness, and you provide how you are fixing this, I think you're good.
Yeah, yeah, and even the answer can be very short, because if you ask me, to be fully honest with you, what's my weakness? I am very. I sometimes I don't have patience. I gotta be honest to you. I don't have patience. I think I like things to get done fast, and when I ask them, you know, as a director, that's my weakness. How do I handle that? How do I manage that with empathy? I got to think about the other person. He's learning. He can make mistake. That's how I handle my weaknesses. So it doesn't have to be like I have a team working all over Latin America, and I do it to my personality. I like things to get done fast. People who work with me knows that I like things fast, and I like reporting, and I like knowing about things that are happening. But I handle that with empathy. That's the way. That's my answer. So how should I be answered that? Not because I am a guru or something like that. No, no, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about because I know myself. I'm honest. And you, as a recruiter, you can tell if I'm lying to you, if I'm not being honest to you. You can tell that. So
It shows
people
integrity too.
charity as well. Yeah, that's right. So recruiters and most of the professionals that are looking for a new job forget that recruiters can read you. The recruiter is a prepared professional with a lot of experience reading people. So what are you doing lying to a professional who's recruiting you? You can't do that. It's not allowed. You know? Make sense, Liz?
Yes, we can always tell.
Yeah, you can't tell when somebody's lying to you. I had experience doing that as well. So I think it's better to get a bad answer by showing yourself honest when you're talking in an interview, than giving the best answer in the world but not looking authentic. My point of view.
Yep.
Okay. So, Liz, we just got into the time of this live. It was really fun to be talking to you. I really appreciate this time. It was really fun for me. So, thank you for sharing with me. There are a lot of people watching us right now. So, I just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you for sharing with us, being with us. Thank you, Liz, for your time. Hope to see you sometime here
Yeah.
on Florida. Let you know when I go to maybe Disney, Orlando, over there. So thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope we get to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.